Welcome to the IPF Sporting Inspiration Series in collaboration with GB Wheelchair Rugby. I'm Jack Smith, and today we are joined by IPF member Tom Horey. Let's start with where it all began, I guess. How did you first get involved in rugby?
So I first got involved in rugby, I think when I started secondary school, so in about year 7. I remember joining and just almost fell in love with it straight away. Just joined the team and got going from there, really.
Yeah, very similar to myself, really. Has it always been part of your life?
So I wasn't from a rugby family or anything like that. So like I say, never played rugby till secondary school, but I went to a school that was very rugby focused. And kind of just took it from there. So not necessarily always been within my life, but as soon as I started playing, it very much became part of my life.
So what would you say rugby's given you?
I think rugby is such a big part of my life, even now. So a lot of my best friends, even now, are friends that I made when I was playing rugby. Kind of when I was a teenager, most of my best friends were the ones I was playing rugby with. So it's kind of almost been vital in terms of like my friendship group and those connections that I made. So I think that's probably the big one for me.
Yeah, I think that's such a common theme, I think, with rugby itself, isn't it? You know, building those friendships are not like any other, really, are they?
No, definitely. And it's like the experiences you have together, it's almost bonds you a bit more. I remember like the rugby tours you go on, it's almost like your first experience being away, kind of getting up to a bit of no good, but also kind of that bonding and again, like competing together does definitely bring you closer.
100%. So you obviously had your accident playing rugby. If you wouldn't mind sharing a bit about that, where was it? How old were you at the time?
Yeah, so I was 17 when I had my accident. So it was a couple of weeks before my 18th birthday. And I was playing at Hertford Rugby Club, so my local club. But I was playing within the men's team there. I've been playing in the men's team for about a year. But yeah, it was just kind of one of those unfortunate things. So I took the ball in, got tackled, and my head got caught at the bottom of a ruck. Not too sure what happened, but kind of felt my neck go and I broke my neck. You almost have a bit of a panic straight away, not being able to move your body and what have you. Almost knew straight away that there was an issue there.
Yeah, it's pretty weird, isn't it? How you almost, like just at that moment, you just know straight away, don't you? It's so odd.
It is a bit of a surreal experience, isn't it? And also I think because it becomes such an important moment in your life, you look back on it a lot and kind of think it through. All those moments that were in there, kind of what was going through your head.
Yeah.
But I do remember just the panic at the time, kind of.
Were a lot of your friends playing at the time as well or watching?
No, so it was one of them weird ones. So it was actually not many of my like close friends I was playing with on that day. Like I said, I was playing with one of the men's teams, not my kind of normal Colts team, which it would have been at the time then. So no, not loads of my mates were around for the game, but all the time when I was in hospital, they'd regularly come and visit me and kind of stay in contact, kind of helping me on my rehab and kind of keeping my spirits as high as they can be in that time, which is obviously a really difficult time, as I'm sure you can relate to as well.
Yeah, I mean, very similar to yourself when I had my accident. The amount of people from the rugby club coming in to visit and wishing you well, and there's people you don't even really know a lot of the time are coming in and just want to send their best regards. Is, I mean, again, you said it before about that camaraderie within rugby. I think that pretty much made it stand out even more so for me.
Yeah, and so I could probably just relate to that as well. Like I said, I was playing with that team, but kind of a lot of the guys I was playing with in that match, they came and saw me in hospital and they'd reach out to my family as well after kind of, obviously they were there and saw the impact it had and kind of wanted to be there for me. And even now, if I go back to the Hertford Rugby Club, everyone will come and say hello. You become a bit of a celebrity at your local rugby club, but everyone always wants to help you and kind of be there for you and offer that ongoing support, which is it's really touching in a way.
Yeah, it's great. So at what point during kind of that process of you've had your injury, you're in hospital, when did you kind of first hear from the IPF? Did you know about them before your accident as a charity at all? Or was it something completely new that you just found out about post-injury?
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard anything about the IPF before my injury. I think the welfare officer at the time came maybe a couple of weeks after my injury. I don't actually remember it. I think it was my 18th birthday. He came and presented me with a signed England shirt.
Yeah.
But I can't remember it. I think I was heavily sedated at the time.
Sounds like
I
most
know,
18th birthdays, isn't it?
yeah. Not quite the birthday I had planned, but yeah, obviously it was kind of, they provided so much support in those early days as well, enabling my parents to kind of be there for me, and paying for accommodation for them to enable them to stay at the hospital and kind of be on hand. So yeah, they made a great impact immediately, but definitely hadn't heard of them before, but so grateful to them for the support then and kind of ongoing.
And you mentioned the ongoing support now. How do they continue to support you?
I've been very lucky with the support I got from the IPF. So they've been supported me when we had our extension built on the house. We kind of got funding for that, but also kind of more practical support. So I got support with vocational rehab. So getting into employment, I managed to get support from the IPF from that. I was kind of, when I was first looking at that as an opportunity, I had such low confidence and didn't really ever see that as a possibility. But through that support, they kind of connected me with a vocational rehab person, and that was vital to getting me into employment. And I kind of, the impact that's had on my life, I can't be underestimated, just because, you know, it's built my confidence and given me so much more independence to kind of grow and develop as a person as well.
I couldn't believe it when you were saying you were back in full-time work, 'cause to me that's just mind-blowing. You know, the amount of things we have to do day to day just to be up and about, to then chuck in full-time work, like, it blows my mind. So yeah, kudos there, to be fair. And not only do you work full-time, you've also started your own wheelchair rugby club.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so within my work, actually, it's kind of linked to sport and physical activity. So I work at the Active Partnership in Hertfordshire, the Heart Sport and Physical Activity Partnership. And one of the very first projects I got involved with was setting up a wheelchair rugby club. So it was GBWR came to the Active Partnership at the time and said kind of they're looking to run a taster session in Hertfordshire. And that was almost my little first project, was like, can we find a venue? Can we get this taster session set up? And kind of just went from there. We had the session, got a few people there, and there seemed like an interest there. And also kind of from my own, almost a bit selfishly, I thought it'd be really useful to have a wheelchair rugby club set up. We already had a few people that are interested in playing. And just kind of, I looked into what was needed to establish a sports club, kind of setting up the constitution, establishing a committee, those kind of things. And then, yeah, we managed to get the club going. So that must have been 6 or 7 years ago now. And we started off with a handful of members, but it's really grown, and it's almost a bit of a thriving club now in Hertfordshire.
It's mad how the stars just align, isn't it? You get a job and then all of a sudden, oh, we're going to try a wheelchair rugby taster session, and you're starting a club. And the club's thriving now, like you say. You got plenty of members and you're competing in the Fives League, I believe.
Yeah. So it's a wheelchair rugby fives club, so kind of does make it a bit easier to open it up if it's a fives club. Obviously kind of open to more people with different impairment types. But yeah, so compete in the Fives League, train every week, and I went to training last Saturday, and I think there was 16, 17 people there. So it's quite a good group of people that we're getting along to training.
Really impressive numbers.
Yeah.
Is that a good mix of kind of ages, different disabilities?
Yeah, it's a real mix, and kind of genders as well.
Yeah.
Get men and women, which is a great thing about wheelchair rugby, as I'm sure you know, kind of how we play together, kind of mixed gender sport. But also, yeah, different ages and different impairment types. And it's kind of really interesting, isn't it? And that's the beauty of wheelchair rugby, is kind of the different roles within the game, and kind of people having their roles and being able to play together.
Yeah, it is like no other sport, isn't it? Especially with that mixed gender aspect now, which hopefully, can keep growing and get more women involved and carry on improving that side of it. So you're still involved with the club as heavily as you were, or have you taken a bit of a step back now?
I've taken a bit of a step back. Kind of, as you said, working full time and balancing everything in life. Kind of, it is a challenge to. Sometimes you need a bit of a break from it all. So I'm no longer the chairman. I was the chairman for about 4 or 5 years, but kind of stepped back a little bit. But I still try and get along to training when I can and on a Saturday. I can't say I get there every week, but I like to do my fitness where I can and get along and make sure I can catch up with everything that's going on with the club. But not quite as heavily involved as I once was. I feel like the club's in such a strong position now. It was almost like a good time to step away and let someone who's probably got a bit more time to give the club that it needs to take it forward.
Do you find you miss that physical aspect of it if you've not been for a while? You miss having a good push about and a bit of a tear up with some mates? And I guess it is that, how would I describe it? It sounds a bit corny, doesn't it? But that it is almost like a freedom, I feel like, when you're on the court. Do you feel like that's lost at times, or do you get that elsewhere?
Well, yeah, no, I do. I do really miss it if I don't get along for a week or what have you. Just kind of, you feel so much better for it, don't you? Whenever you've played a bit of sport, done a bit of activity, even if your shoulders are aching a bit or whatever it is, you just feel a bit better. You clears your brain. And also it's great for that social element as well. So I definitely miss it when I don't get there, but I do try and find other ways of getting my activity in, whether it's after work, going for a half an hour push, or kind of going around the block, or doing a bit of cardio at home, making sure I can get the activity in where I can, because kind of I realise how important it is just in terms of maintaining my own well-being as much as anything. But it's not quite the same, is it, as playing sport with your mates?
No, it's never the same on your own, is it?
No.
Always a bit more tedious and harder to motivate yourself to do it when you're on your own.
You definitely haven't got quite the same incentive.
Yeah.
And you also, when you're playing wheelchair rugby or any sport, it doesn't feel as much of a chore, does it?
No, you got that ball's your distraction.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't believe the amount of kind of effort you put in and kind of how hard you push yourself. But
so I saw something the other day, and I think it's during a game you're covering like 6K, and I was like, "There's no way if you said to me go and push 6K, like, nah, you got no chance."
Yeah,
but like you say, you put that ball, that distraction in, and all of a sudden it's amazing.
Yeah. No, like if someone said, "Can you push 6K?" I think I couldn't possibly do that.
Nowhere near.
No.
So have you got any other hobbies, any other interests?
So, to be honest, sport is still really important to me, whether it's watching or playing. So, I like going to watch sports. So, get along to Twickenham where I can, go and watch England play. Also got a season ticket at Spurs.
Do you find there's kind of any barriers or any obstacles that get in the way of you watching sport, whether that is live or on TV?
I think in terms of watching it live, I think transport can be a bit of a barrier. If there's not accessible parking, or even if there is accessible parking, the amount of traffic that is there getting to live venues, or if you're looking for public transport, how busy it gets going to live games, you almost have to wait extra long just to be able to get on a train after a match and things like that.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Do you find like kind of when you're in the stadiums and that kind of stuff that everything's a pretty decent setup now? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I think things are getting better. I know kind of when I first started going to sports and stuff, it probably depends on the venue, but kind of I think people are thinking about it a bit more, thinking about accessibility a bit more, and almost a bit more being put in place to make it more accessible. Kind of from my experience, that there definitely seems to be improving when you're in the venue and getting around. But also when it's a really busy environment, it can be quite kind of overwhelming when you're at our height. It can be a bit of a challenge, but it's definitely worth it. You kind of the amount you get out from it, being there, getting to see it live is
it's far better than sitting watching it on the telly at home, isn't it, on your own?
Yeah.
So what sport offered you through your life? I know you said it's something that's always been part of your life. What's it kind of given you?
To be honest, just so much. Kind of, I said at the beginning, kind of all my friends have really come from sport, or most of my friends have come from that sporting element, even through work as well. So I touched on it, that kind of my employment, but when I was looking for what I wanted to do for work, I didn't have a clue. I just knew all I was interested was sport. That's all I wanted to do when I was younger. And I thought maybe I wouldn't be able to do that now I've had my injury, but still went down that route, kind of looking at sport, and it's led to this opportunity, kind of where I'm employed now. So we basically reached out to the Heart Sport and Physical Activity Partnership and kind of said, I'm interested in sport, kind of what opportunities are there? And I started volunteering there, and kind of my director, he's still my director, but I went in there, he was a rugby man. He's a Welsh guy, kind of like rugby, loves rugby still. And I think he just realised, saw something in me that, kind of like you mentioned as well, Jack, that community of rugby wanted to give me an opportunity. So I started volunteering there, and without sport, I probably wouldn't have got that opportunity, wouldn't have had that link, wouldn't have known where to start. And kind of I'm still working in the sports sector as well, which is great.
So you were 17 when you had your accident, did you say?
Yeah.
So did you go back to college after your accident? Were you studying?
Yes, I did sixth form, yeah. So I'd done AS, and I'd done a couple of weeks before my injury. So I basically came out of hospital in the June, went back to school in September to finish my A-levels.
I mean, kudos. Yeah. I had a year off, got boozed up and got fat and then did nothing.
I did have a year off after that, to be fair, though. Yeah,
So did you do university as well?
Well, yeah. So I went to university when I was 19, maybe 20. But at that time, it was just a bit too much.
Right.
So I lasted 6 weeks or something like that, and then kind of dropped out, and then wasn't sure what I was going to do. And then that was when I got support from the Injured Players Foundation to get vocational rehab. Started the volunteering, and from that volunteering opportunity, got the opportunity to do a degree apprenticeship at the University of Hertfordshire. So I was employed by the Heart Sport and Physical Activity Partnership, then studying alongside that as well. So I'd done that for 4 years, got my degree, and kind of had that employment as well.
Absolutely amazing. Why does sport play such an important role for you?
Without sport, I just don't know what I do with all my time. Kind of everything we said in this conversation is my life is built around sport. I work in sport. I get home in the evening, I'll probably be watching sport on the TV, something recorded from the weekend or a match that's going on that night. It's just so important. It's community, isn't it? It's just kind of is everything. And you just get so much out of it, whether you're watching or if you're competing particularly, or if participating, whatever you want to do. I just think it's so impactful for people. And even if it's not sport, even if it's just being active, kind of that's what I've learned as well, probably through my work, is actually the value of being physically active. Even if sport isn't for you, you may think that's a bit overwhelming. If there's things you can do to get your heart rate up, get you moving, kind of how much that can benefit your mental and physical well-being.
Yeah, that release of endorphins is crazy impact, isn't it?
If you're not getting that, just how much it's going to affect your mental health is significant. So there's just so much that can come out of it. So it's almost vital for people to consider.
Like you said, there's so many different avenues within it as well, isn't it? You don't have to be competing at the highest level. And equally, you don't have to just be having a kick about in the park. You can do the whole spectrum from one to the other. So what would you say to any IPF member who's looking to get back involved with sport?
I'd say 100% just go for it. I know it can be challenging to make that first step as well. I was probably there after my injury, had a little break and wasn't doing any sport, wasn't being active, but actually getting back into sport has been so important to me. It's kind of given me my worth, given me a sense of purpose. It's led to so much. Just taking that first step is vital. You don't know what it can lead to. For myself, it's led to employment, working in the sport and physical sector, helps with my mental well-being, helps me look after myself as well. Being active, I know if I'm feeling a bit down, actually going out and doing some activity is vital to make me feel a bit better. So if that's you, if you're already kind of in that situation, I'd definitely recommend doing sport, seeing what's out there, kind of looking at the opportunities and go for it.
Do you find it benefited you at all from an independence point of view and I guess learning how to live your life again?
Yeah, definitely. You can probably relate to that as well. Particularly wheelchair rugby, you're seeing people with similar kind of disabilities or kind of level injuries, and you see in the way they're doing things, you can learn so much from other people. And there's not always situations where you can get that. It's almost like invaluable opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah.
To connect with people who you can learn little tips off, and maybe you think, oh, I wouldn't be able to do that. But then seeing someone with the same injury do something, whether it's a transfer or something like that, almost gives you a bit of a kick to think, oh, I can do that. Let me try. Asking them, getting tips. So definitely that, but also building up your own strength as well. If you're not going out doing your sport, doing your activity, you're going to lose your strength, and that's going to inhibit your independence as well.
I think that's a great answer. Thank you very much, Tom.
Cheers, Jack.
Thanks for listening. Hope you really enjoyed it. Make sure to follow the IPF for more content.